She had a master's degree, 10 years of experience. She knew her subject better than anyone in the room. And yet, the moment her manager asked for her opinion in the meeting, her mind went completely blank. She started fumbling, her voice started shaking, and 3 seconds later, her male colleague said the exact same thing she was about to say. And everyone nodded and moved on. She told me, Lena, I felt invisible, like it didn't even exist in that room. If you ever felt that way, this video is for you because today I'm going to show you exactly why this happens and the 3-step system that took her from silent in meetings to leading client presentations within 8 weeks. Stay with me because what I'm going to tell you is going to change how you think about confidence forever. So let's start with the biggest lie professionals tell themselves. If only my English were better, I'd be more confident. I hear this every single week and I want to challenge you on this right now. Tell me, have you ever been in a situation where you knew exactly what to say in your head, but the moment you opened your mouth, something went wrong? Your voice got quieter, you added too many you ended your sentence like a question even when it wasn't one. You said, I'm not sure, but maybe before every idea. That is not an English problem. This is a confidence architecture problem. And here's the proof. I've worked with clients whose English is near native and they still struggle. I've also worked with clients whose English is heavily accented and they command every room they walk into. The difference has nothing to do with vocabulary or grammar or accent. It has everything to do with how you relate to yourself the moment you start speaking. So let me show you what's actually happening inside your brain in that meeting room. Because once you see it, you can never unsee it. Here's what no one tells you about speaking anxiety. When you sit in a meeting and you feel pressure to speak, your brain does something fascinating. It fires what neuroscientists call the threat response. Your amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for survival, gets activated. It thinks danger, judgment, threat. And the moment that happens, blood flow actually reduces to your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for language, logic, and clear thinking. So it's not that you don't know your stuff, it's that your brain is physically preventing you from accessing it in that moment. And here's the cruel irony. The harder you try to think clearly, the worse it gets. Because trying harder means more pressure, more threat response, and more blank. This is called cognitive flooding and is happening to many professionals every single day. Now, what makes professionals especially vulnerable to these 3 things? Let me walk you through them. First trigger is the audience effect. When we are speaking in a group, especially with senior stakeholders or people we respect, our brain automatically starts monitoring us. It splits your attention in two. Half your brain is trying to form your thought, and the other half is watching yourself, judging yourself, predicting how others are reacting. Result, you can't do either well. Your thoughts become fragmented, your voice loses power. Let's go to trigger 2, the perfectionism trap. Most qualified professionals, especially those who are detail oriented, have been rewarded their whole lives for being right. In school, in exams, and written reports, being right, being valued. So when you are in a meeting and you're not 100% sure of your answer, your brain says, don't speak, you might be wrong, wait until you're sure. But here's the problem. In meetings, waiting until you're 100% sure means you never speak. Because in real-time conversation, certainty is a luxury. Trigger 3, the identity gap. Now this is the deepest one and most people never address it. If somewhere inside you hold a belief that says, I'm not really the type of person who commands a room. People like me don't really get taken seriously. Here, my ideas aren't being valuable as the people around me. then no amount of English improvement will fix that. Because you'll speak, but you'll speak like someone who doesn't believe they deserve to be heard. And people feel that. This is what was happening with my client. She was fluent, she was qualified, but she had an identity gap that was 10 years in the making. So, how do we fix all three of these? That's exactly what we're going to do now. Like I call this the ACE framework. A, C, E. A is anchor before you speak. C is claim your language. And E is exit with authority. Let me take you through each one of this. Now, most professionals make one critical mistake in meetings. They wait to feel confident before they speak. Big mistake. You will wait forever. Confidence doesn't come before the action. Confidence comes from the action. But there's a bridge. And that bridge is what I call anchoring. Anchoring means before you open your mouth, you spend 2 seconds doing one thing. You drop your shoulders, you take one quiet breath, not a big dramatic one, just a small slow exhale, and you physically plant your feet on the floor. Why does this work? Because your nervous system cannot be in a fight or flight mode if your body is sending signals of safety. This is not woo-woo, this is basic physiology. When you slow your exhale, your vagus nerve activates and it tells your brain, we are safe, stand down. The threat response quiets. Blood flow returns to your prefrontal cortex and your thoughts become accessible again. 2 seconds before every single time you speak in a meeting. My client called this her invisible reset button. Nobody else in the room can see you doing it, but the difference in her voice quality was immediate. Now, anchoring gets you started, but what do you say? That's step 2. Language is power, and most professionals are unknowingly using language that undermines their authority every single time they speak. Let me show you what I mean. Here are phrases I hear constantly from smart, qualified professionals in meeting. I'm not sure if this is right, but sorry, can I just say something? This might be a silly question, but I was kind of thinking maybe we could. Does that make sense? Said after every single sentence. Every one of these phrases does the same thing. It tells the room, please don't take me too seriously. And here's the thing. These phrases don't come from stupidity. They come from politeness instincts. Especially for women. Especially for people from cultures that value humility and difference. You would thought that this is respectful, and in some context it is. But in boardroom, in a client meeting, on a leadership call, these phrases are costing you credibility every single time you use them. So let me give you the replacements. Direct substitutions, same intention, completely different impact. I'm not sure if this is right, but replace with, here's my perspective, or based on what I've seen. Sorry, can I just say something? Replace with, I want to add something here. Just that, no sorry, no just, no permissions asking. This might be a silly question. Replace with, I have a question, full stop. Because a question is never silly when you're trying to understand something. Does that make sense? Replace with, what are your thoughts on this? See the shift? You went from seeking approval to inviting dialogue. That's a leader's move. Now I want to address something, because some of you are thinking, won't this sound arrogant? Won't I come across as too aggressive? No, and here's why. Arrogance is when you claim authority you haven't earned. Confidence is when you stop apologizing for authority you have earned. You have the qualifications, you have the experience, you have the work done. Stop asking for permission to use it. Now, there's one more language shift that I consider the single most powerful tool in professional communication, and it's something I call the position statement. Most people speak in meetings like this. They start talking and they figure out their point as they go. They meander, they backtrack, they say things like, what I mean is, and let me rephrase, and the room loses them. The position statement flips this. Before you say anything else, you give your point first. Let's see what the format is. My view is X. Here's why. Give one or two reasons. What this means for us is Y. Let me explain with an example. My view is that, say, Q2 campaign drove the drop in engagement. Two reasons: the timing was off season and the messaging didn't match our buyer's current pain point. What this means is we need to revisit the campaign brief before we spend more. Completely different authority. That's what I mean by claiming your language. Here's something almost nobody talks about. How you end what you say matters as much as how you start. Now, most professionals, especially those lacking confidence, trail off at the end of the sentences. Their voice drops. They add a filler phrase like or something or I don't know, you know what I mean, or they end an end statement without asking like a question basically. And that creates doubt. The room hears it even if they don't consciously register it, they feel it. Exiting with authority means three things. One, end on a downward note. Statements end with a voice going down. That's finality. That's conviction. Questions go up. Statements go down. Record yours and you'll be shocked. Two, stop. Don't fill the silence after you make your point. Stop talking. Don't add extra sentences to fill the gap. Don't say anyway and rush on. Let the silence sit for 1 full second. That silence, that's gravitas. That's how senior leaders sound. Silence is not awkward. Silence is power. 3. Don't retract. You made your point. Don't immediately soften it. So you said what you said. Let it stand. When my client started doing this, just ending her sentences clearly and holding the silence, she told me people started responding differently. They'd pause, they'd nod, they would say, that's a good point. Same ideas, same English, just a different ending. That's the power of exit authority. Let me come back to the woman I told you about at the beginning. When she first came to me, she had convinced herself the problem was her English. She had even started an advanced grammar course, which honestly she did not need. In our first session, I had her speak for 2 minutes about her area of expertise, and I can tell you her English was completely fine. Her vocabulary, her grammar, her fluency, all fine. But her architecture was broken. She started every sentence with a qualifier. She looked away from me every time she made a strong point, as if she was apologizing for it. Her voice went up at the end of the statements and she said, "Does that make sense?" 4 times in 2 minutes. So we started with the ACE framework. Week 1, just the anchor, the 2-second reset before she spoke every single time. Week 2, we audited her language. We made a list of every undermining phrase she used and built her replacements. Week 3, we worked on exits. She recorded herself daily and listened back. By week 4, she was different, not just in how she sounded and how she felt. Because when you stop speaking like someone who doubts themselves, eventually your brain starts believing it too. By week 8, her manager asked her to lead the client presentation, the same presentation she used to dread sitting in as a participant. She sent me a voice note after. She was laughing. She said, "Lina, I was so calm. I can't believe how calm I was." And they loved it. One client specifically came to me afterwards and said, "I was very authoritative." Authoritative? That's the word the client used. Not fluent, not articulate, not even confident, authoritative. That's what waiting for you on the other side of this one. Let me give you something concrete to walk away with. 3 things. Do these this week. Number 1, run a language audit. For the next 2 days, pay attention every time you use an undermining phrase. Write them down. "I'm not sure, but," "sorry to interrupt," "this might be wrong, but," "just asking." Notice them. Awareness is the beginning of change. Number 2, Record yourself, take your phone, record a 90-second voice memo about anything. A project you're working on, an opinion you have, anything. Listen back. Specifically, listen for, does your voice go up at the end of the statements? Do you trail off? Are there long pauses? Are there fillers? Introspect. You'll hear things you'll never notice before. Number 3, use the position statement once a day, not in high stake meetings first. Start small. A team stand up, a casual chat with a colleague, a response in WhatsApp group. Just practice, my view is X because of this reason, what this means is Y. Do this once for 7 days and see the change. That's it. 3 things this week, do them. And if you want to go deeper, I work with professionals one-on-one, exactly this kind of transformation. But even if you never work with me, the tools I've given you today are enough to start. Before I go, I want to say something. If you've been silent in meetings for years, if you watched less qualified people get promoted over you, if you've been told you're too quiet or need to speak up more, without anyone telling you how, I want you to know this is not a you problem. Nobody ever taught you this. Confidence and professional communication is a skill, like any other skill, and skills can be learned. You already have the knowledge, you already have the qualifications, you already have the ideas. Now you have the architecture to deliver them. If this video helped you, please share it with one professional you know who needs to hear this. Because there's someone in your life right now sitting silent in meetings, doubting themselves, and this might be exactly what they needed. Subscribe for more videos like this every week and drop a comment below. Tell me which of the 3 triggers resonated most with you. Was it the audience effect, the perfectionism trap, or the identity gap? I read every single comment. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.